I'm going to start coming on here live more often so that I can get more information out to you, as it does take me quite a while to record, a lot of storage, and then to edit. So live is working on my phone now. I do love to go live on the laptop as well, but again, that's a whole other setup. So there's a lot of information that I don't get out to you, but does get kind of out to my clients or my friends and family, because I'm always studying astrology. Now, I'm going to try to get on here every day, 7 days a week at this point, and do at least 15 minutes to an hour just to get, we'll cover the current transits, all of that, whatever's going on in the collective or in my personal experience. So I have a few topics laid out for the next few days. One is, I found a couple that's been married 50 years. I was sitting at an establishment, and the owner was like, listen to this guy, and the guy was going on and on about how he's been married 50 years. So I got their birthdays and birthplaces, and sometime this week I'm going to hop on and go over that. So do be sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. I also have recently come across Tony Gaskins. I like to watch a lot of different relationship advisors, as I'm also a relationship coach on top of the astrology and everything. And they were talking about, I came across a video of Tony Gaskins and his wife Cherie talking about, somebody asked them what their astrology is, and she's a Libra and he's a Pisces. So I went and ran their charts, Googled their birthplaces, and looked up their moons and all of that. And I have a lot to say about that. So I'll hop on another time this week and we'll go over their synastry. But for today, I did shoot a video last week for about an hour, and the audio was horrendous. A few of you popped in and out of here, but didn't tell me that you couldn't hear me until the playback. So I went on and on for an hour about what I'm going to try to go over again today. So let's just knock this out. Now, first of all, I do want to say that if this is your first time to the channel, what I sort of specialize in as an astrologist, I mean, I do know a lot of different things. I do astrocartography and all of that, but I specialize in matching and overlaying people's birth charts, which is called synastry. There's also composites and Davisons and all of that. I feel like those are sort of the birth chart of the relationship. So we look more into those once the synastry is good. The synastry shows us, how two people get along and interact fundamentally, regardless of timing or circumstances or the nature of the relationship. So with that being said, right now I want to go over just today semi-sextiles. If you've been following the moon series, I have gone through this extensively, but in the last video we touched on semi-sextiles because it's the one exception to where the moons are not in the same polarity. So my general, just a recap, moon compatibility is that you want to have, if you're going to be in a long-term relationship or married, what I find is that the couple has their moon in the same polarity, which is either the 6 masculine signs, air and fire, or the 6 feminine signs, water and earth. But the one exception to the rule that I have found is the semi-sextile, which is 30 degrees apart in neighboring signs. This is tricky because if it's in neighboring signs and it's 15 degrees apart, for example, that is not a semi-sextile, that's an out of sign conjunction. So that's just sort of a recap on what we were talking about in the last moon video. When I get a chance, I will post I'll pin the comment at the top with a link to those videos. But with that being said, I told you guys in the last video that I would come on here and let you know if I found a semi-sextile in a couple that was not in the correct dignity by Vedic astrology. So we talked about David and Victoria Beckham and how his moon is, I can't remember the exact degree, so I'm just going to throw one out there. I think it's like 27 degrees Aquarius and hers is 27 degrees Capricorn or something, but it's at the exact degree. But I said, he still holds that lower degree in Vedic astrology, with Aquarius being below Pisces. And I told you guys that if I found a couple where the man was at the, the following sign, I will come on here. So that couple that I found that was married for 50 years, they actually her moon was in Aries and his is in Pisces. So that would be an example of that. So do stay tuned in this week for the lives, because I'm going to go over their synastry extensively. It was very interesting when I was sitting there and the owner of the establishment was like, listen to this guy. He's been married 50 years. And the guy went on and on about how he had met his wife the day of my twin flame's birthday. So that was very bizarre for me. So I finally, I got his birthday and time. I didn't have their times. And that's, we'll go over that in depth when I do the live on them. again this week. I'm going to do those two, their Synastry, and Tony and Sheree Gaskin's Synastry, because they've been married about 16 years. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into the semi-sextile and the Aries North Node return. Now, for the Aries North Node return, this is happening for the collective. It's all about identity versus the South Node in Libra partnership. Us balancing, you know, our taking care of ourselves versus the others, and being in partnerships. So I really don't have a whole lot to say about that for the collective right now, aside from you're all going to be experiencing that to some level. Now, for me personally, and this is, you know, what I'm going to get into just as an example, my ascendant is 0 degrees Libra, and my descendant is 0 degrees Aries. So this is very impactful for me. I don't have a natural chart. I have a reverse natural chart. My North Node is in my 7th house. So what I want to come on and tell you guys is it took me a few months. It started July 18th. I did meet a significant soulmate that day, like 3 days later. But I also rolled into my hometown to visit for a few weeks that day. But the interesting part was it took me a few weeks, and one day it dawned on me, oh, you can't have a North Node return without having a South Node return. So this is why it came full circle, and I had to come all the way back to my roots, I suppose. And to me, this time around, right, we have a North Node return every 18 years. So at the age of 18, 36, that's when the North Node will return to where you were born. The North Node is what we're all going towards in life. It's a very uncomfortable energy. So for me, with Aries, it's all about independence. Anyone who's about 36 right now has their North Node in Aries, or 18. They're going to be experiencing this. Also, I believe around the age of 54, what is it? I don't want to get off on all that, you know, but it happens again, you know, 20 years from now. So yeah, about 54. And I believe around that age, you also have a Saturn and Jupiter return. This could be like the midlife crisis, right, that we talk about. So with that being said, I'm going to kind of, I'm trying to recap on what got lost last week when the audio was messed up. But my North Node return when I was 18 was very significant because it started on December 27th, 2004. And at the very beginning of it, I was basically like exiled out of my, you know, family home and roots. This light is dimming a bit, you guys. So, and it was just like this big fallout, but I was already sort of independent, and I'd been fighting for my independence for years as a teenager, right? A rebel. But the thing is with my North Node in Aries, how much more significant is that? So I was pretty much put out, you know, and then I stayed with friends, and I wasn't quite 18 yet. So when I turned 18, I got my first place like I always said I would. And by the end of my North Node return, the very last month, I met my first husband, my ex-husband, and I had gotten my dog, which I ended up having for 16 and a half years. She actually passed away in December, only about 6, 7 short months before the beginning of my second North Node return. So she kept me company the whole way. Again, the other verse partnership. 6th house has a lot to do with animals as well. But anyways, so with that being said, I could see the very distinct things that occurred between the very beginning of my last North Node return and the end of it. But the other thing I want to note, just because numbers are important here, right? My ex-husband, who I met the last month of my last North Node return, right? Again, the others, my South Node return in Libra, marriage, legal partnership, his birthday was December 27th, which was ironically the day that the North Node returned in Aries, or started to, at what, like 29 something degrees in some minutes in 2004. So to me, I didn't notice as much of a significant like South Node versus North Node thing back then. Give me 1 second, you guys. Sorry about that. It's just that light was driving me nuts. Okay, so this time around, I feel like I'm feeling the South Node return a lot more, going back to my roots and all these past relationships and all these people that I didn't expect to connect with. Also, I'm getting over the end of, I think, what was COVID, because it's been lasting like 2 weeks. So I might have to mute the microphone and clear my throat. But anyways, so with that being said, I'm just feeling the South Node, Libra, more than anything right now. And I've had this theory for the past probably decade where, you know, life sometimes is like a rubber band and it pulls us back and it shoots us forward. So revisiting the South Node themes, old relationships. I was watching an astrologist. He's pretty good. I'll try to remember him and link him. He was talking about the North and South Node return in Aries for the collective. And he was saying that, oh, with Venus retrograde this past summer, it started also the end of July through the early September. And then we had Mercury go retrograde. And that, I mean, with a lot of my clients, it was like, we broke up the end of September, or the beginning of September, you know, or it was very much on the timeline of that. So, he was like, oh, is this Venus retrograde going to bring in a significant soulmate? Well, with the South Node starting to return right then on my ascendant in Libra, I did meet a significant soulmate. And it took me a little while, you know, of running his chart and everything to realize, and this is where we're going to kind of segue into semi-sextiles, because it kind of crosses over from the North and South Node return, this Libra theme, into the semi-sextiles with the moon, because this is something that, like I said at the beginning of the video, is the only time that you're going to be able to be with someone without having your moons in the same polarity. So, which goes back to this couple I met that was married for 50 years, that I don't have their birth times, but I will get into that in that video, but the median of their moons is 14 degrees Aries and 17 degrees Pisces. So I'd be willing to put money on, if we found their birth times, just to summarize what's going to be in that video when we go live this week and talk about it, that their moons are exact semi-sextile, just like David and Victoria Beckham. And there's no way, with the way the moons are landing, that it could be an out of sign conjunction, which is like the most torturous thing that you can find. But basically, with my moon being at 25 degrees Virgo and my ascendant 0 degrees Libra, I attract a lot of Libra energy and Virgo energy, but Libra moons, right? So these Libra moons are in an out of sign conjunction with my Virgo moon, but it seems to be simpatico because of my Libra ascendant. So with that being said, right when this was happening, I met a guy whose moon was in Libra. And I was like, oh, his moon's 10 degrees Libra. That's, you know, 10 degrees from my ascendant of 0 degrees Libra. So, you know, it's just, that's what it is. It probably isn't going to work out. But then his sun was exactly conjunct my moon in Virgo. So I was like, well, it's worth seeing what's going on here, because I've dated a few Virgos, but never anyone with their sun exactly conjunct my moon in Virgo. So, and as my twin's moon is exactly conjunct my moon in Virgo, I was like, okay, he's sort of like the sun masculine extroverted embodiment of my twin's internal nature, which is me, but I'm the feminine, he's the masculine. So I was just curious to get to know him. But the point of the matter is it took me a little while, and I realized that his moon is actually sitting directly on my South Node. My South Node's like 11 degrees Libra. So his moon is 10 degrees Libra. So I was like, oh man. And then as I was dating him, I started to realize that pretty much the last 3 significant relationships I've had, and there's even a 4th one, he was pursuing me more, but the 3 that I fell for in like the last decade, because I don't fall very easy or very often, all have a significant planet at 10 degrees Virgo. So one guy, a Libra I dated for like 4 or 5 years, his sun is at 10 degrees Libra. Another guy that I met who I have really good astrology with, his moon is right out of Moiety with mine in Virgo. It's like 10 degrees Virgo. His moon is 10 degrees Virgo. And then the one after that's sun is 10 degrees Virgo. And then this guy with the moon at 10 degrees Libra had his Venus also at 10 degrees Virgo. So I'm like, I don't have anything around 10 degrees Virgo. That's just my 12th house. I don't really understand why I keep attracting men with a planet at 10 degrees Virgo. Well, this is a semi-sextile. This is where it segues. What would be semi-sextile my south node in Libra at 10, 11 degrees? It would be any planet at 10 or 11 degrees Virgo. So I'm starting to feel, and I do see, well, kind of going into what we're going to talk about with Tony and Sri Gaskins, they have a lot of they have a lot of sextiles, and you'll see a lot of marriages, the moons are sextile. I like trines and conjunctions. They're great. I feel like they're even stronger, but sextiles work really well once they get activated, because it's like, those are the two that will be like, we're very different, but we just get along so well. It's just like very complementary. So it's not as suffocating. It's really good for independent types in relationships as well. So with that being said, you know, our north and south nodes are so important when it comes to our destiny. And, you know, a lot of, I don't read past lives, but they say, you know, the south node is from your past lives. For me, it's just an energy that you're very comfortable with. I grew up in it. I was raised by a Libra stepfather. I didn't really like him or care for him, but there was times where we got along. So it's almost like that part of me that learned how to get along with someone, even if I don't like them particularly, I guess. So with that being said, I realized that not only, and then I had a childhood friend come back around, and I ran his chart with mine because I got his birth time, and his moon is at 10 degrees Libra. He doesn't have any planets in Virgo, I don't believe, off the top of my head. So I was like, okay, so this child, we have Mars square Jupiter. That's why it didn't work out. We've always had a crush on each other, if you've heard my definitions of that. So it was like, okay, so this soulmate that I just met brought me back. I wouldn't have stayed around long enough to reconnect with this soulmate from childhood, and both of their moons happen to be on my south node as I'm having my south node return. Now, last I checked, the north and south nodes are around 24 degrees and they move backwards, so it hasn't even gotten to 10 degrees yet. That'll be in the next year, like next summer, around August or September. I ran it for a client, maybe it was like 16 degrees around then. It's a 1.5 year transit. So I feel like a lot of things are going to come full circle in the next year, and I don't even know what. I just, looking back at that North Node return when I was 18, seemed much more about the North Node and me finding my independence, and I've been on my own ever since. And this North Node return, it's like, oh, you can't have a North Node without a South Node return, feels, at least at this time, to be much more about the South Node. And I would say, if anything, the last time around I had the North Node return was pushed out to be independent, which is what I always wanted. You know, we want the North Node. That's what we're going towards, but it's not a comfortable energy. So like, I want to be independent and I get pushed out and I want to do everything myself like an Aries, but I have to rely on the others. That's the South Node. And I'm very good at people pleasing and acquiescing, even though I resent it if the others hold me back, you know, from what I want to go after, which is very Aries, right? Very one track mind. So with that being said, and I guess you could say selfish. I like to say like self-aware. So it's just, these semi-sextiles are activating for me, and I had just found it with the moons with David and Victoria Beckham. So I really, you know, when it comes to the minor aspects, right? So our major aspects are trine, conjunction, square, sextile. But, you know, I hadn't paid as much attention to the minor aspects, and I still, it's interesting too, because now that I think about it, so if you guys, let me just kind of shoot this out there really quick. If you're single and you want to know, or even if you're in a relationship, because you can do this with familial relationships also, I have with my software figured out how to run and find a birthday search of all the birthdays you're most compatible with. And the way that I do this is first of all, I eliminate all malefics. So like, if your Mars is going to square a certain Saturn, a certain generation of Saturn of a whole age group. So right there, it would eliminate anyone born within those years when I do the birthday search. You can go to rotation411.com if you want to look into the birthday search. But then I also put in the moons, right? So I put in, you know, but I have to do it within a certain orb. So if I'm running the birthday search and I'm looking for people whose moon's within a 10-degree conjunction of yours in sign, it's still going to pull, one second, you guys. Still getting over that. Okay, so it's still going to pull out a sign conjunction, right? So if my moon's 25 degrees Virgo and I want to run the birthday search and do 10-degree moiety right? Which really the moon is like 10 to 15 degree moiety, but I do 10. It's still going to pull everyone up to 5 degrees Libra for you. That's why if you do order the birthday search, you want to make sure that you also are counting in for the different time zones where people are born. But you got to run each one. So it might say like September 18th through 25th of 1989 is really good match for me. There's no malefics, and the moons would align those days. You know, the moon would be in Virgo, hanging around the end of Virgo near my moon in a conjunction. But it actually could be pushed into Libra. So if you do the birthday search, you still have to run them one-on-one if you meet someone, okay? But the only thing that's off is the moon, because I can't, there is an ascending, descending, and I will perfect this, but I can't adjust. Like if the sextile, the soft aspect of the moon, it's still going to run that 10 degrees. And like a semi-sextile has to be the exact degree. So there's a little variation in the birthday search. I do have to warn you guys, but it is going to eliminate all those malefics. You just want to double check on the moons, okay? Anyways, so kind of coming back full circle, when you meet soulmates and people, these aspects are going to be almost to the exact degree or within 5 degrees. There's, you know, that childhood friend and this recent soulmate, their moons sit exactly on my south node within 1 degree, okay? All these people that I dated with that 10 degree Virgo, it's all an exact semi-sextile to my south node, which is this comfortable energy where I want to please the other, acquiesce to the other, become the other half to the other. But in doing so, I neglect and abandon my Aries north node, which is my purpose, which is, you know, kind of a confusing nodal axis, but a very prominent one, right? Because this is the blueprint. Aries, you know, is the beginning of the chart, and Libra is the descendant. So anyways, let me go ahead and check the chat if any of you are in here. Say hi to me. I see a couple of you. But basically that's all I wanted to summarize was these semi-sextiles and how significant that they really are. The more and more that I'm finding, and the north and south node return, I'll keep you guys updated on how that goes for me over the next year. And this week I'll be getting on to do Shri and Tony Gaskin's Synastry, and I'll be getting on to do that couple that I met that's been married 50 years. So as I'm sitting here, there's 2 of you in here. If you want to ask me anything, you could go in the chat. I'll go ahead and put like any donations or anything, and the divinetimingdatabase.org. I have a bunch of people in there. I need matches for them. You know, every time that I put it out there, I'm met with a lot of skepticism and cynicism about, oh, you can't match people based on astrology. But I'm in the trenches, you guys. Like I discovered all of this by putting myself out there. So I'm not like, I don't write people off if their synastry isn't the same as mine. If anything, they're more intriguing to me. But I'm tired of watching all my clients struggle and come to me one by one with their matches. And I'm like, no, you guys have Saturn square Pluto, you know, go back out and find another one. It's so time consuming when if you know, people would just submit to the database, I could be sitting here matching people. You might get 4 matches. You don't have to marry any of them, but you might end up marrying one of them. You never know. So divinetimingdatabase.org. If you're single, I highly recommend you submit. If you have CoStar on your phone, then you might as well let people know about divinetimingdatabase.org, because CoStar is ridiculous, but it's like everybody's doing it, so everybody does it type of thing. I'm just going to chill and pull a tarot card for you guys while we're in here. Just like a general energy of the day. We have the 5 of Wands in reverse. Yeah, much resistance from the collective. And the 8 of Swords. This is me thinking about how to get people in the Divine Timing Database, because I'm just so tired of watching everyone struggle in the modern dating world. If your moons are not compatible, you're wasting your time. If you have malefic deal breakers, you're wasting your time. If you want to figure all that out, just go through my videos in the channel. But yeah, I'm definitely going to get on here this week, talk about Shri and Tony Gaskins, because they were saying how they are not technically compatible, being a Pisces and a Libra, which again, it's just false teachers because it's not about the sun signs. And also Libra is ruled by Venus, and Venus is exalted in Pisces. So there is harmony there between the 2 of them. And this couple that was married for 50 years, I'm excited to get into theirs because they have like I said, I think a semi-sextile in the moons, but I don't have their birth time. So I'm going to, you know, ruminate over that and just really dissect it with you guys this week. So around 2 to 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I'll be getting on. I'm going to try to get on every day. And some days I might just go over the current transits because I've always wanted to make videos of that. Just this live format is the best way for me to get the content out to you guys, because recording the videos, just it takes so much storage and editing time. That's why I don't put out a lot of content. So yeah, every day before I start taking clients and logging in, I'll do that. If you want a private reading from me, rotation411.com. Pretty much any information that you want regarding me is on rotation411 YouTube or .com. I was working on the Instagram. You could go follow me there. I might pick that back up again. I had a client this summer that was taking up a lot of my time, and it was a pretty sensitive situation. So, and then I've been making a lot of life changes as well, but I definitely plan on getting back on here more. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of like hanging out, seeing if you guys say anything. I'm probably not even looking at this correctly. Yeah, I think I'm going to wrap it up for now, but yeah, I'll be on this week. I'll be on a lot more. So do like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can see when I go live. Sending you all lots of love, blessings, and light as always.